Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paigncast. This is a podcast where we shine a light on the people who brighten up our city. This is the first episode where we are running some new tech. So thank you for bearing with us while we got it all put together. A lot of people are saying that with this new tech, we are now the sleekest, fastest, and sexiest podcast in Champaign. That's their words, not mine, but I appreciate them saying it. So, again, thank you very much for waiting around, and I'm super duper excited to introduce you to today's guest. One of Champaign's very own independent storytellers. He is the brain behind the Park Rangers of Chesapeake Valley, setting up camp, the funny-ass roadshow, and the brand new series debuting today, Saturday morning, from Camp Nostalgic Studios, Dave Rediger. Dave, welcome, and thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you very much for having me. This is awesome.
I'm
very
so glad
sleek,
to have you.
very sexy.
Thank you. I see people are saying it. Before we get started here, plug, promote all your stuff.
Well, the easiest one is campnostalgic.org. And of course, we have like a YouTube and an Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, but campnostalgic.org covers it all.
Sweet.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I want to go back. I want to know kind of how this all started. So let's go back to the very beginning. How did your great-great-grandparents meet? No, I'm just kidding. Tell me where you're from. How did we kind of get started in the world of content creation and sketch comedy?
Well, where I'm from, I was born in New London, Connecticut.
Okay.
Lived in Groton. My dad was a chief petty officer in the U.S. Navy, and when he was getting out of the service, he needed a part-time job. He got one at the mall at a kitchenware shop where he met my mom, and believe it or not, they fell in love. 2 weeks later, got married, had me, and with her son, she had like a 10 or 11-year-old son. We all moved out to Illinois, close to my dad's family, and eventually settled on the outskirts of Oakwood, Illinois, and that's where I grew up.
They got married 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
That's why.
I know. It's like it's like that Johnny Cash song, right? They got married in a fever. Instead of Jackson, they thought Lexington, Illinois.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay, perfect.
But then we, scurried on over to Oakwood.
Okay, gotcha. What year was that?
90, it must have been 94.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you guys move out here.
Yep.
Dad's family's from here.
Yes.
But you didn't know anybody. And how old were you would have been at that time?
I was 2 years old.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So moved back to Illinois.
Yep.
How long were you there then? Was that just kind of like where home base was for?
It was home base for all. We moved back to Connecticut like when I was 9. Spent a year out there. So I've been back and forth, but yeah, Oakwood, Illinois.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's where all of the Camp Nostalgic, from your perspective, at least on your end, started, right? So how did you kind of like, how did you end up finding that you enjoyed kind of like the content creation and all of that?
Well, I guess I'll have to explain what kind of kid I was, because that all leads up to it. I was a very stubborn kid, right? Like you heard like crippling depression, crippling anxiety, where you have so much it just hinders anything you do in life. I had something, and this is self-diagnosed. I had crippling independence. I was so stubborn. I quit every sport I was involved in. I didn't get along with anybody in Cub Scouts. I wasn't a bad kid, but I just definitely led my own march. So I was just like this really hard-ass, stubborn kid, right? And eventually that would affect my schooling. So I found my love for video making in my second year of 8th grade.
Okay.
And you heard that right. I failed the 8th grade.
Okay.
Right? And it's one thing to like fail in grade school, right? Or get up to high school and not have enough credits and struggle through high school. But it's another thing to fail the 8th grade and have all your peers and all your friends go up to that high school. And then you have to stay with the junior high kids, right?
Were you just so stubborn that it was like, hey, we got to get this math homework done? And you're like, the hell we do, dude?
I was like, what's math?
Yeah.
It's made up.
Yeah.
I was like that. I challenged everything. I questioned everything. When people said, you have to do your homework, you have to get a good job one day, I said, oh, do I?
Right.
What
was that? What was that like being held back then?
Oh, it was the most embarrassing, miserable year of my life.
Yeah.
I felt like I was the oldest kid in school and obviously the physically biggest kid in school, but I felt like the dumbest kid in school at the same time, right? So then I started class clowning, right, which didn't help my grades at all. But then video making came in one fateful day in history class, when the assignment was take all the definition words that we were studying, go home and either write a newspaper article or make a news video. Okay. And I was going to write the newspaper article.
Yeah.
But this was like 2008, 7 or 8. So we were like 3 years removed from the movie Anchorman. So every junior high school kid wanted to be Ron Burgundy in the Channel 4 news team, right? So, like I said, I was going to do the newspaper ad. And these kids, these video kids, they were YouTube kids, and I had no idea what YouTube was. They wanted the funny kid that failed in their video, right? So we lump up together for the first time, and we form this little story and completely forget about the assignment because we wanted it to be as close to Anchorman as possible. Yeah. So, so we make the video. It's hilarious, but it has nothing to do with the assignment. It has no vocabulary words in it or anything. And we show it, and I was embarrassed because, you know, I knew this was bad. So we show it, and we failed. Got a 37% F. We failed the assignment, right?
Was the video funny? Like, did you guys like it?
For an 8th grader's sense of humor? Yeah. It was hilarious.
Gotcha.
The funny thing was, though, like, we failed really bad, and you said, you guys didn't cover anything. It's just a bunch of gibberish, and you guys giggling the whole time. But the thing was, it was so charming that the teacher showed the next class, and then the next class, and then the next day she showed the class before us, and then it started to get around school, right? So that was like my first experience, and like you can go home and like make a little like movie, show it around before YouTube or anything, and like people generated and talked about it. So
that's got to be fun too, right? Where you're a kid and now all of a sudden people are coming up like, hey man, I saw that thing, that was funny, right?
For a little like antisocial punk rock kid in 8th grade, it was pretty cool. Gotcha. I made it.
So that was right, of course. So that was the first one, and then from there, did it kind of just like continue to be like, hey, we should do another one of these? Like,
oh, definitely, They were the video kids, and I kind of got the bug then. So like, flash forward to the end of the year, and I failed again. They said, all right, you're getting too old for junior high, David. Okay. You're not doing any work. You're getting too old. But you can go to summer school, try to pass, right? Yeah. So I go to summer school, and I'm supposed to be there getting to high school. Yeah. So I'm filling out all my paper, B, turning it in, and then pulling out a notebook and writing, okay, a sketch right here. Right. That we were going to do over the summer, because we started meeting up every day and started filming YouTube sketches eventually. So here I am supposed to be passing middle school. Yeah. And I'm sitting here writing sketch comedy. Right. But I did pass. I got into high school. So I'm going to high school. Yeah. And over that summer, we created our first channel. And the rest is history.
And that would have been 2008, 9, something like that?
2008, yeah. The summer of 2008.
Early back. YouTube back then wasn't what it is today, right? I mean, so that's like an early adopter to be like, we're going to get a YouTube channel.
I know. It was like Smosh era. Yeah.
But that's like visionary stuff, though, right? To be like, this is a good spot for this to go. We can put this up there.
I know. It was news to me, too.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. So then tell me, like, those are formative years, right? You're kind of figuring out what you're going to do, what this is going to look like. And I don't know if that ever really ends, right? You're always kind of changing what your strategy is going to be. But like, who were some of the influences you had? Who were some people that you were looking to, like, I like the shit that they're doing, I'm going to try and do something? Like, who kind of influenced you as you were creating this whole thing?
Well, I always kind of considered the groups and the channels I was a part of sort of like band. I was really into punk rock, pop punk music as well. Probably anything Mark Hoppus or Tom DeLonge was doing, I wanted to do. Sure. Or Bam Margera. Right. So that's kind of who I looked up at the time. So yeah.
Gotcha. What about from like a sketch comedy era? Did you have like did you watch? I know that we both share an interest in like The Whitest Kids, right?
Yeah, that was a little later, yeah.
Gotcha.
I guess the only comedy influence I would have is, this is a great memory I have with my mom. We would always watch sitcom television. Because that, like, to me, sitcom television and just television in general was like complete bliss to me. It was like controlled programming, and it was like, in my house, it was like 60 plus channels of just adventure, right?
Sure.
And we would watch every sitcom. And to a small town kid, that's like your first exposure into black families, Hispanic families, poverty, wealth, homosexuality. Like there was a sitcom for everything, right? And it just opened my world to all these stories and brought you into like these different families. And I think that's where my writing started to turn.
Gotcha.
Studying these different styles of comedy.
Okay, gotcha. So as your channel kind of began, or just, I guess, I'm assuming you've had several different channels and several different things that have kind of happened. Where was the first one that you kind of decided, like, I would love to do this? 'Cause I feel like it's got to at least start with you goofing around with your friends, right? At what point did it ever kind of go to be like, no, I would love for this to be a real thing, and to like almost like where you decide, I'm going to take it a little more serious?
Well, I mean, we had that initial summer, the summer of video making. We started a channel called Space Dog TV, right? And it was just a lumping of words of like, I was really into UFOs and space. I just got a dog, Space Dog,
right?
And then TV never stood for television. It was timeless videos.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? So we formed this channel, and we film all summer long, right?
Yeah.
So then when it was time to actually go to high school, and I'm going with this group now, the group that I failed and then joined, I'm going with them.
Yeah.
I was no longer afraid to like face all the upperclassmen that like, I feel like I failed, you know?
Yeah.
I was part of this like group. Like I still wasn't like this cool kid or this like lame kid. I was like this like odd kid that was doing something pretty cool over there, so don't mess with him, right?
Yeah.
We did so many videos that summer that in that small town of Oakwood, it started floating around. And then we became sort of like little rock stars in that little town. Like in the high school, right?
Sure.
So that's where I first kind of said, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. One of the things that's neat about being a like when you're filming something like that, especially when it starts to pick up a little bit of heat, is people want to be involved. They're like, hey, if you ever, like need someone, or like, they see you out shooting, like, oh, I saw you guys out, like, I can't wait to see it. Are you like shooting, editing, doing like pretty much all of that, or did you guys kind of like learn that as you go? Did anyone have any type of training on that? No, you said the YouTube kids.
I didn't at first. I was always kind of more of like an idea guy. And I would write little scripts and stuff. But I will give credit to one of our buddies, Trent. Right? He was the YouTuber. And all of us were just the buddies, right? So we'd film, and then we'd go over to his house later, eat pizza, play Grand Theft Auto, while he'd sit in his corner and edit his video.
Right.
And slowly I started to look over and then eventually join him. And I'd be sitting there, I'd be watching him create these movies basically, and do these cuts and add in like music from other movies and put credits. And I owe everything that you see on Camp Nostalgic to Trent Parker. He taught me how to edit, and I don't know where he picked it up.
Right.
But he just knew how to make a movie at 14 years old. I was 15. So yeah, I picked it up there.
So tell me, how does it all become, what's the bridge between that 8th grade year, the second one, and where you got to with Camp Nostalgic now? Because now you guys have, it's an operation. This isn't some small, like, we shoot a video once every quarter and put it out there. You guys have multiple programs now, and I want to name a couple of them. I named them at the top, but the County Park Podcast, which is like a spinoff of the Park Rangers of Chesapeake Valley, which I loved and watched all of. That was funny. That was great. Setting up camp, very, very cool. Run a profile on like a local creator, right? The Funny Ass Roadshow, where you're basically following around doing kind of like the comedy, right? The stand-up. And then this new one, Saturday morning. So how do you kind of what's the bridge between where it all started to kind of now in terms of like what that looked like?
A lot of stop and go and failure and just trial and error, losing friends, gaining new friends. In high school, I figured out right away, schooling's not for me, videos is where it's at. But the other kids that were in that group, I don't think they wanted to do it forever. And then as soon as I did it, I was like, this is it, guys. This is it. We keep doing this, we're made. Right. And that's why I kind of like lumping in with like being in a band, because band members come and go. You go into new bands, and that's what happened for a long time. Like those guys, they went to college, they did their thing after school. They told me, maybe I don't want to do videos all the time, Dave. I'm like, okay, cool. Right, I do. So we split off, just joined different YouTube groups and just kind of rode those waves until I met my wife, Angela. And and then it's a long story till we get to Camp Nostalgic. But
Your wife's hilarious.
Thank you.
I love seeing her act in the stuff. She makes me laugh. I went down a long, I don't want to say long, but the video that you had sent me of kind of like the start to where you guys are at right now. I think that goes back to, whenever Gella was doing her stuff before you guys had even met, which was very, very cool. Take me through kind of how you ended up meeting a content creator, because I think that's part of the story, right? Camp Nostalgic doesn't exist the same way without her involvement. So kind of help me get to where you end up meeting her, because she's a big part of this puzzle.
Well, after high school, did the day job thing, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I wanted to bring my video making to the next level. I had a few years under my belt of experience, like with that Space Dog group, and I was always into pro wrestling. Big WWF fan when I was growing up. So I just kind of bit the bullet and just kind of messaged a local group in Danville called the New Breed Wrestling Alliance. And I said, I'm so-and-so, I have video experience, and I see you have no video, right? So we meet up, I start doing production work for this wrestling company, right? And I remember the first day they had me at a show, and they said, all right, you go over there and you teach this guy who's our video guy how to do this, right? So I went over to him, and he had a tripod, and I said, you're running the hard cam. You're just going to make sure the ring is in the shot, right? And I'm going to be over around the ring doing all the fancy stuff. So I get the footage back. Turns out he left immediately when he pressed record. The camera went up, and it was 3 hours of the ceiling.
So, really?
Yeah. So it was all my camera. So that guy was out real quick, and I became like this one-man production camera crew for this indie wrestling scene at the time, and first of its kind from what I know, right? So I'm sleeping on motel floors, squeezing into cars I can't fit into, going all around the Midwest with this wrestling group being their like camera crew, because part of my pitch was I could like produce you a show that sort of looks like TV.
What did the editing, or like how quickly were the videos coming out and stuff like that, like on an episode basis?
Well, back then it was just DVDs.
Okay, they didn't doing DVDs.
Yeah, they didn't do the YouTube yet.
Gotcha.
That was later, but yeah, we would like record the show, edit the show, and then sell the show at the next show. Right, on DVD. But yeah, it was pretty groundbreaking stuff for them and for me at the time. So I met Gella doing that. Because she was a mutual friend of one of the wrestlers, and she didn't care about wrestling at all. And she showed up, and she was there just to film for her vlog series, Gella TV. And we were all at a house, the promoter's house, before one of the shows, talking about, okay, this match, I want you to film this, I want you to do a promo here. And somebody says, that girl in that living room there, she does what you do. I said, what do you mean do what I do? She's like, she does everything you just did, like the Space Dog, all that stuff. She does in Gibson City. And that's when I didn't even see her yet. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And it wasn't like a physical attraction or anything. It was just kind of like a mental attraction.
Right,
it was like, oh, somebody does what I do. And they're a lady.
Right,
So, anyways, so girls that get brought to wrestling shows get a bad reputation, right? Unfair reputation. They get the groupie treatment, right? Well, Angela was different. Gella was different. She was the first girl brought to a wrestling show that didn't want anything to do with any of the wrestlers. She wanted to know who that guy holding the camera was. Right. So everybody's like, you guys should get together, right? And being like this, the distance was too far. Oakwood from Gibson City. I mean, come on, that's too far for me. So I told her, no, I like you and everything, but I can't. Like, I'm driving my parents' van. It's going to break down.
Yeah,
exactly.
I can't put this amount of miles on this thing. Yeah.
So she kept going to these shows, and like I would see her. Like one day I would see her in Terre Haute, Indiana. Then I'd see her in Rantoul, then Danville, then all over the Midwest, right? So then eventually, like people started pulling for us. They said, "I will drive you to her." Yeah. You guys are perfect together. So fate brought us together. We started dating. A year later, it wasn't 2 weeks later, but it was a year later. She moves in with me and my parents. I was living in the garage.
Nice.
And then we kind of like worked together, moved out, got married, had twins.
Nice. That's awesome.
So there you go.
How long after you guys got together before you started working on your hobby together, right?
Well, I was always kind of like coming up with newer ideas. At the time, I met Aaron Martin, the guy who plays Ranger Rick on Park Rangers. I met him through that wrestling, and I eventually left the wrestling scene and started doing Park Rangers with him. And Angela was, I keep calling her Angela, Gela, was doing her own thing for a while. Like, she was trying to keep Gela TV alive, even though all of her friends were in Ford County and stuff, but she was still keeping Gela TV alive, and I was trying to do my thing. Rode that wave for a bit. The same thing, the band broke up. It took a while, but eventually we decided, okay, maybe we would be good working together.
Yeah.
It didn't work out at first,
No? Just like creative differences?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that I believe that we would be a good fit together. I don't know. I was like, you do your thing, I do my thing. Right. I don't know what I was thinking.
It can be hard when you are you're the judge and the jury on whether or not something's a good idea. Yeah. I have a hard time handing over creative control. Yeah. There are processes and things like I can hand off without any issues, but the creative control for me, and when you bring in other brains sometimes, you're kind of like, it can be hard to hand that over. Yeah. You know? Where you're like, I think that what I've got here, what I've written down, is actually perfect. So.
We tried acting together, too, and it didn't work out. I think it's just both. I'm not an actor, and she's hilarious in her certain roles, but we didn't have it together at that time. We didn't have the right projects. So. Yeah.
But now you do.
Yeah, now we do.
What you guys are working on with Camp Nostalgic. So, I want to talk about some of the programming that you guys kind of have here, because what I want to get into is Saturday morning as well. But tell the people kind of what they can find on Camp Nostalgic. What's some of the stuff that you guys are doing regularly that people can go on and kind of check out that's straight up Camp Nostalgic original programming?
Well, Camp Nostalgic was built because I wanted to finally create a studio for people that have been doing what I've been doing since high school. I knew they had to be out there, right? I knew there had to be just people that would rather do their work by themselves, so we started forming this idea called Camp Nostalgic Saturday Morning, which is out today. But in the meantime, it was taking a really long time to develop it, so I got impatient. I was like, what else can we do? I want to start showcasing other independent storytellers, as I call them. So I created this thing called Setting Up Camp, which in my eyes, it was like you're setting up camp with us, and now we're going to like stem off and make all sorts of content together. So I started making documentaries. The first one about Dustin Danger, who was an Oakwood guy, 10 years older than me, who is super inspiring because he's a musician, a producer. At the time that I knew him, he was in a punk rock band, and I was kind of doing my punk rock podcast group. And we kind of brushed shoulders, went away for a while, and then by the time we were creating Camp Nostalgic, he had created Rebels Fair Collective, where one day he's like, you know what, I want my own arts and music foundation. I want my a studio. So he built it in his own backyard. And I heard about that. I said, that's the first story I want to tell with Camp Nostalgic. Yeah. So we did a documentary about him.
That was the beginning of like setting up camp.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. Gotcha. And that was kind of the beginning of the channel. The studio, really. Yep. So started telling stories about people.
Sure.
And then I started looking around Champaign. I said, who else is independent? And I looked at Jesse and Justin Tuttle. Yeah, and those guys I have so much respect for.
Yeah.
Super hard workers. I mean, they just one day just said, we want to create a brand.
Yeah.
And they just did it. And 10 years later, it's one
still
of the
going.
Yeah,
I know.
It's one of the biggest companies in Champaign.
Yeah, we had Jesse on, and he is a super cool dude, funny, down to earth, and I respect the people that are just willing to just take a shot. They're like, I just want it to exist, so if it's not here now, I'm just going to build it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's cool. So we got Setting Up Camp. What else is out there?
Well, because of setting up Camp CU Comedy, I realized, man, there's so many great comedians around here. And when I was developing the idea of Camp Nostalgic, I kind of wanted for this area what MTV was for bands in the 80s. You know, there's so many great bands, and MTV just exposed them all. So kind of the same way MySpace did for kids of my age, for content creators. So the way I think about it is everyone is working so hard, working on themselves and their brand. And wouldn't it be nice if there was also somebody that helps show what the hard work they're doing?
Right.
So that's how the Funny Ass Roadshow came about. So.
Gotcha. And how far around does that kind of travel? You guys all over Central Illinois for the most part?
Yeah.
Kind of hitting the comedy shows?
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a road show, so wherever we go, you know.
Sure.
Like, that happens as opportunities come up.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then obviously County Park Podcast.
County Park Podcast was because Park Rangers kind of ran its course a few years before, but we were always trying to figure out how to bring it back. And that was like one of the first things I thought of when creating the studio.
Yeah.
Bring back Rick and Abe and give them a little podcast. So,
yeah, I like it. It's funny. You said, who's the guy that plays Rick? Last name Martin?
Aaron Martin.
That you said?
Yeah.
He's a talented dude.
Super talented guy, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen, just through kind of following you guys and seeing some of the stuff over the years, he can do a lot.
I know. He can sing. He can act. Yes.
Yeah.
Huge range.
Yeah, he really does. Yeah. He's very different, it seems, than what Ranger Rick is in his real life, but that's a great character. And, just a really, really talented dude, which is cool.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about now is the program that has come out today, Saturday morning. I want the background on how this whole thing kind of came to be, and what the people can kind of like expect from Saturday morning.
Okay, Camp Nostalgic Saturday morning was supposed to be the flagship show at the very beginning. When I started to form Camp Nostalgic in my mind, I took a break from video making in like 2018. I said, I'm done with the stop and go stuff. I'm gonna quit for a while. But then I started to sit at home and stew and watch YouTube and get angry and angrier about what I was seeing on YouTube, because everything turned to negativity after a while. It was the top 10 reasons why blank sucks, or those kind of titles. And I was like, I started verbally saying, if I had my own channel, I would do this, or if I had my own studio, I would do this. So that's when, I think Gela kind of dared me to make one. Yeah. And so we wanted to recruit somebody, and we went to our good friend Alex Duquette, who's an amazing musician and a composer and actor and director, and had worked with us before. And that kind of formed the Triforce, and the idea was to create this pop culture show that just kind of reminds you of turning on TV, just kind of a television thing. Because some of my favorite things about television wasn't even the shows; it was all the network stuff, the bumpers, the commercials, so it's got a lot of that in there. Yeah, I got a chance to see the like one of the rough edits that you had sent over, and it's funny. Thank you.
It's I love the bumpers and the little commercials for the programming that's also on the network. Like, that's such a great idea, and it's so funny. And it's also, I think, for people that have been following you guys for a while, it's a little bit of a nod to the people that have been around from some of familiar faces from old content and stuff like that you guys have created, that some people are going to be introduced to for a long time, or for the first time. But then you've got some long time friends and followers who are going to be like, nice.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I remember her, you know, type of situation.
It's a little
too.
dose of pop culture in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not letting those characters die. The ones that raised us, really, and some ways created our morals. You know,
Gotcha.
Those characters.
So when does when can we kind of expect like new episodes, things like that? What's the kind of the program's run gonna look like here?
It's going to be the first Saturday of every month, all the way up to the end of the year. So
Gotcha.
the season finale will be in December.
Gotcha.
First Saturday in December. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And approximately how long are the episodes?
We're thinking 20 minutes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very nice. I could tell you guys worked hard on it. And it's been a long time coming, right? You guys have waited to release it until it was done and done right the way that you wanted it, which I think is smart. You know, you work this hard on something. You want it to be perfect by the time that it kind of comes out, and to have it done the way that it should be and kind of what your vision is. So I'm super excited about it. I know that people are really going to like it. It's a cool thing here. So tell me then, obviously we've got kind of the flagship program that's going to be, you know, it's out, coming out today, but that's going to be kind of going on for the next 6 months. What's the vision that you kind of have here, you and Gela, for what Camp Nostalgic Studios would look like? What's kind of the vision, the goal?
I would say that all I want Camp Nostalgic to be is maybe an alternative for people that universities might not be their thing. They like acting or they like music, but they don't want to really become an actor. Or, you know, the video making to me has always been an alternative, and it's fresh. It's still fresh. Like we said, it was like a new thing when I was in school, and it was always kind of looked down upon too. Oh, they're just YouTube videos, that type of thing. But it's really more than that. I always say that Camp Nostalgic's not a YouTube channel. We just have one.
Yeah.
It really is just a video studio.
Sure.
Still in its infancy a little bit, the whole genre.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like it to be kind of just, you know, an alternative choice after high school one day. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea. You know, I think that's one of the faults of scholastics is a lot of the times you're asking fish to climb trees, right? You know, you've got people that are like, look, I'm talented, I'm good at these things. I don't care about I don't care about geometry. Yeah. Right? Like I don't care about, you know, these different types. And I was that way too. Fortunately, I was able to I found that in writing myself. Yeah. Because that was, if I had to pick a subject, you know, like writing was going to be it, because there's some creativity there, right? You know? Also hated math. I'm with you on that, dude. That was terrible.
Math was hard.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Didn't like it. Still don't.
I'm still blaming it for all my problems.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we should get rid of it, honestly. So one question that I always ask every guest that comes in here is, what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Okay. Well, if I could tell my 16-year-old self anything, it would probably be don't stress about what people think you're doing or what they think you should do, because when you get older, you will realize that nobody knows what they're doing.
True.
Nobody knows what they're saying.
Yes.
And we're all making it up as we go.
Yeah. That is great advice. I thought if you would have talked to me when I was 16 and you would have said half your lifetime from now when you're 32. Does that math check out? 16 times 2?
You're asking
We're going to need to get someone else in here. Half your lifetime from now, you're still not going to really know what you're doing. Right? Like that is because I feel that way all the time right now, where I'm still like, it's crazy that I have this job and like someone gave me a house and all of this stuff. It's like it feels like I'm barely holding it all together always. I don't know if it ever stops feeling that way, where you're like, it feels like I'm like 2 bad decisions away from this entire thing just crumbling, you know, forever. Yeah. I think you just stay that way forever. That's how it goes.
That's the material world for you, you know. We're all just waking up, eating, going to sleep.
Yeah. Well, listen, I really, really appreciate you coming on here. I'm super excited about Saturday morning and just to kind of see what you guys have done. Big fan of everything.
Thank you.
Real quick, before I get you out of here, plug and promote one more time where the people can find you and your stuff.
CampNostalgic.org.
CampNostalgic.org. Follow it. Follow the channel. Check it out. Check out the new content Saturday morning coming to you and your screens very, very soon. To everyone who is watching, thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Paigncast. We'll see you next time. Nice. Thank you very much. you.